Ashtata Sadhya A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. Prabhupada ki Jai. From here, no, these are no. This is the book we're reading.
Okay.
I don't know where we're reading. Shri Radha Nitai Sachi Sutta ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ki Jai. Shri Radha Parasishwara ki Jai. Shantarashma Bhagavatam ki Jai. Shri Prahlad Nrsimhadev ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi. All glorious to the assembled.
Hare Krishna.
All glorious to the Sri Guru and Garanga. Shri Rukmini Dwarashi ki Jai. Appearance day of Rukmini Devi.
Jai.
Hare Krishna. What do you say? Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Padaya. Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami. Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Manifestations in the Lotus. Do we have a specific verse?
We propose you Maharaj to read from 7th Canto, chapter 6, first verse.
Anywhere?
First verse, if you like.
Let's see what it is. What Prahlad learned in the womb, no. Prahlad instructs his demoniac schoolmates.
Yes.
Very nice. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 This verse, chapter 6 of the 7th canto, text number 1, is one of the most famous verses in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and his lecture has been lectured on by Srila Prabhupada many times. So we'll read this verse. It's completely relevant and really something we should imbibe. Shri Prahlad Uvacha.
Shri Prahlad Uvacha.
Kumara Acharet Pragyo.
Kumara Acharit Pragyo.
Dharman Bhagavatan Iha.
Dharman Bhagavatan Iha.
Durlabhang Manashang Janma.
Durlabham Manusham Janma.
Tad Apya Dhruvam Artadam.
Tatapya Dhruvam Artadam.
Shri Prahlad Uvacha.
Shri Prahlad Uvacha.
Is Prarad. Prarad. Shri Prahlad Uvacha.
Shri Prahlad Uvacha.
Kumara Acharet Pragyo.
Kumara Acharit Pragyo.
Dharman Bhagavatan Iha.
Dharman Bhagavatan Iha.
Durlabhang Manushang Janma.
Durlabham Manusham Janma.
Tadapya Dhruvamartadam.
Tadyapya Dhruvamartadam.
Shri Prahlad Uvacha.
Shri Prahlad Uvacha.
Kumara Acharet Pragyo.
Kumara Acharit Pragyo.
Dharman Bhagavatan Iha.
Dharman Bhagavatan Iha.
Durlabhang Manushang Janma.
Durlabham Manusham Janma.
Tad Apya Dhruvamartadam.
Tadyapya Dhruvamartadam.
Anyone else like to chant?
Shri Prahlad Uvacha.
Shri Prahlad Uvacha.
Kumara Acharit Pragyo.
Kumara Acharit Pragyo.
Dharman Bhagavatan Iha.
Dharman Bhagavatan Iha.
Durlabham Manusham Janma.
Durlabham Manusham Janma.
Tadapi Adbruvam Artadam.
Tatyapya Dhruvam Artadam.
I'm going to move the chair back. Rest back a little bit, I'm afraid. Is it against the wall?
Yes.
Thank you, thank you, Louis. You only want to caught on what I was trying to do. Anybody else?
Shri Praraduvacha
Shri Praraduvacha
Umara Acharit Pragyo
Umara Acharit Pragyo
Yajman Bhagavataniha Durlabham Anusam Janma
Durlabham Anusam Janma
Tadapya Dhruvamartadam
Tadapya Dhruvamartadam.
Hey, welcome back. How's the king? How's the king?
Yes,
Did
he
you
was
picture?
dancing. The
I
king was
agree, he's
dancing.
dancing in the kirtan. He just came from the King's Day parade in Amsterdam. One time I've been there a few times, not for a long time. It used to be called the Queen's Day.
Really?
Yeah, then the Queen died, so then they made a king, and it's called the King's Day.
Yeah.
So I have been to the King's Day. I've been to the Queen's Day a few times. Once in Amsterdam, but I think twice maybe in Den Haag. In Den Haag is the capital of Holland or Netherlands, and that's usually where the king or queen manifest themselves in public. Amsterdam is where all the crazy people go and celebrate.
That's
But in Den Haag, it's that's the official capital. The king comes out. The queen came out. We were doing kirtan, and the queen came by in procession. Lots of people there, hundreds of thousands. And on the television, you could hear it. They've always listened later on, and they could hear as the queen went by on the TV. You could hear the chanting of the holy name going on in the background. And she drew let's say she was instrumental in the spreading of the holy name. Anyone else like to chant the verse?
Shri Prarada Uvacha
Shri Prarada Uvacha
Komala Acharet Plagyo
Komara Acharet Pragyo
Dharman Bhagavatam Iha
Dharman Bhagavatam
Durlabham Anusam Janma Tadapi Adurvam Artadam
Tadapya Dhruvamartadam. Any ladies like to chant?
Shri Prada Uvacha
Shri
Prarada
Kumara Acharet Pragno
Kumara Acharet Pragyo
Dharman Bhagavatam Hiya
Dharman Bhagavataniha
Durabam Manashum Janma
Durlabham Manusam Janma
Tadapi Adruvam Artadam
Tadapya Dhruvamartadam.
Before I forget, I'm sure most of you are aware, we're saying prayers for Agni Dev Prabhu. I think most of you are aware he had a major brain stroke kind of yesterday American time, night before last. So don't know the latest update because it's kind of night over there, I suppose. So anyway, he's in very critical condition, that's all we can say. So we'll find out later, but please keep him in your prayers. Agni Dev Prabhu served here for approximately 1 year, maybe 5 years ago or something like that. Like you were here then, yes, serving here. Then he served at New Mayapur also for about 6 months or something like that. And his wife, Krishna Vastaya, who was also here, of course, with him, she's in the hospital. So we just get news. You can't contact anyone. Just the news comes out. Let's see, word for word. Shri Prarada Uvacha.
Shri Prarada Uvacha.
Prahlad Maharaj said.
Prahlad Maharaj said,
Kumara, in the tender age of childhood.
in the tender age of childhood,
Acharet,
Acharit.
should practice.
Should practice.
Pragyaha,
Pragyaha.
one who is intelligent.
One who is intelligent.
Dharman,
Dharman.
occupational duties.
Occupational duties.
Bhagavatan,
Bhagavatam.
which are devotional service
Which are devotional service
to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Iha,
Iha.
in this life.
In this life.
Durlabham,
Durlabham.
very rarely obtained.
Very rarely attained.
Manusham,
Manusham.
human.
Human.
Janma,
Janma.
birth.
Birth.
Tat,
Tat.
that.
That.
Api,
Api.
even.
Even.
Adruvam,
Adruvam.
impermanent.
Impermanent.
Temporary.
Temporary.
Artadham,
Artadam.
full of meaning.
Full of meaning.
Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Prahlad Maharaj said, one who is sufficiently intelligent should use the human form of body from the very beginning of life. In other words, from the tender age of childhood, to practice the activities of devotional service, giving up all other engagements. The human body is most rarely achieved, and although temporary like other bodies, it is meaningful, because in human life, one can perform devotional service. Even a slight amount of sincere devotional service can give one complete perfection. Sincere devotional service. What is sincere devotional service?
Also pleasure of Krishna.
That's the positive side, isn't it?
Not duplicitous.
Pardon?
Not duplicitous.
Non-duplicitous, yeah. What does that mean in practical terms? We could say, what is sincere devotional service?
Not looking for anything in return.
This is the higher answer.
Very-
Krishna.
Oh, sense gratification.
Yeah.
Bereft of motives.
Without any
Bereft
motive.
of other
Bereft.
motives than
Yeah.
Krishna's pleasure.
Anya Bilasita Shunyam Gyanakamajanam. That's their stage. I mean, obviously the goal is, to please Krishna and Ushilinam, to cultivate devotional service. Pardon?
Wireless is connecting. Please wait.
Camera Maharaj.
Wireless
Pardon?
connection succeeded.
The camera Maharaj. It's Rasa must be connecting to watch online or something.
Is that pure devotional service? Sincere devotional service. So yeah, and be anukula. Anukula means very favorable, pleasing to Krishna. Krishna Anushilam. Cultivate. So that's sincere devotional service in the real sense of the term. There's no question of anything else when one comes to that platform. It's not like trying to practice something that's the spontaneous nature or constitutional nature of the soul. But at our stage, we're cultivating devotional service, and to a large extent, we understand that's our goal. And everything we do is to, at least Srila Prabhupada is giving us the process of daily worship, chanting, reading, preaching, and so on, is all for that purpose, to please Krishna. But much of the time we have ulterior motives. So we have desires, of our own. We're not only thinking of what Krishna wants. Mostly we have our long list of what we like to do, and what we like to get out of life. Even in devotional service, not just the external needs. We may want to be married, or we may want to take sannyas. These are all external things. Or we may want to get a job, or we may want to, and then within the realm of direct devotional service, you could say, or at least the practice of therein, we may desire to be recognized, or, glorified, or get some reward for our work, our service, get paid or something crazy, whatever it is. People may need to get paid, but that shouldn't be our desire that I'm going to become a devotee to get paid, or to become rich. As it says here, meaning like one should give up all other engagements. So what does that mean? Giving up all other engagements means you should do nothing else. Yes, it's true. but we're not saying one has to have a deeper understanding of devotional service. It's not an activity per se only. It may be considered like that, but that's not the real essential understanding of devotional service. Devotional service is activity within devotion to Krishna. It's not an activity, it's an activity in devotion to Krishna. So any activity can be connected or can be a limb of devotional service. Any activity. Just doing the activity doesn't define it as a devotional service. There's a quality of the service which is to be understood. So we'll read the purport. With sincere devotional service, even a slight, even a moment, sincere devotional service. Devotional service is a very Rupa Goswami includes even the stage which we're on, which is preliminary stage or Bhajana Kriya. Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti in a preliminary way is also part of devotional service. Strictly speaking, devotional service starts at the Brahman, Brahmabhuta Prasanatma. It starts at that platform when we're actually self-realized. It's not just activity of conditioned imposition, but it's actually the result of self-realization. Then real devotional service begins. Krishna explains Brahmabhuta in the famous verse of Brahmabhuta Prasanatma. That when one comes to that platform, then real devotional service begins. But at that stage, we're following pure devotee of the Lord. So by His grace, whatever rendering of service we do, it's by His grace is accepted by Krishna. We do, and Bhagavad said, the key is to be sincere in our devotional service, sincerity of purpose, and to devotion with sincerity, and without any other motivation. Selfless. I was listening to a lecture during the night with Naranjan Swami. I think most of you know Naranjan Swami? Do you have any disciples of Naranjan Maharaj here in France? I don't know. Okay. But anyway, Naranjan Swami is a very sweet and humble and wonderful devotee, of course. And anyway, without describing that, he was talking nicely. That reminds me of the lecture because he also was forgetting what he was about to say. When you get old, even Prabhupada sometimes say that. I am forgetting the verse, or I'm forgetting. You have to realize that when the body and mind, when the body and the system gets old, then forgetfulness often becomes more prominent in communication. Just the way it works. Anyway, we'll move on because I can't remember what was I just mentioned. Giving up all other engagements, sincere devotional service. Okay, we just mentioned one thing which sticks in the mind, something to reflect on. I know we're in a different era, different age, and people are brought up differently, and you may have come for different motivations to Krishna consciousness. But he was describing initiation. It was an initiation lecture in Lithuania, and he was describing how Prabhupada has initiation. When you take initiation, or when you take initiation, what do you say? You have vows, right? The Guru asks you how many rounds, and what do you say?
16 rounds
16 or more.
Pardon?
16 or more.
minimum.
16 or more minimum.
16 minimum.
On
Yeah.
beats.
Huh?
On beats.
Pardon?
On the
On
japa beats.
On the beads, okay. 16 rounds minimum on the beads, is that what you say? I don't know if devotees do that or not. That's what you may say at initiation, but no one said that during Prabhupada's time. And neither did Prabhupada ask anyone to say that.
Oh, well.
No, not at all. Well, not at all, yes, no. He never said minimum. No one ever said minimum. He said 16 rounds. And Naranjan Maharaj was explaining it. Prabhupada gave 16 rounds. And devotees had no time. There was no question of time to chant more than 16 rounds. There was no time. And he explained his daily schedule when he was a brahmachari in Boston. He got up at 2:30, chanted all his 16 rounds before Mangalarti. 5 o'clock, he was in the kitchen. He had to cook the daily sweet. 6 o'clock, he had to start the breakfast for both the deities and the devotees. Straight after breakfast, he started cooking the lunch for the deities and the devotees. 4 o'clock, he had to do the fruit offering. 6:30, he had to do the evening. No, he'd go out on Sankirtan at 6 o'clock distributing books. Come back at 7 for the arti. 7:30 was class. Through till 9:30, they had class and kirtan, and 9:30, 9:40, they take rest. That was an average day. Can you imagine? When we complain, I've done 2 services today, it's too many. There wasn't a second in the day when you were not engaged. Not a second, honestly. Not a second of the day when you were not engaged. There was no time to chant more than 16 rounds. You had maximum 2 hours, maximum, if you were lucky. That was the day. In Prabhupada, well, then Prabhupada didn't necessarily say. They said you attend, we did say this. 2 hours a day study, he said, meant 1 hour class in the morning, 1 hour class in the evening. That was a 2 hour study.
Okay.
There was no other time. None. There it was. And then I remember when Danavir Maharaj asked, he wasn't Maharaj then, he was a new Bhakta, he asked Vishnu Jan Swami, who was the temple commander of the temple in LA, can I have some extra time for reading? I like to read. Vishnu Jan said, no way. No. You make time. If you want to read, you make time. So he looked at his daily schedule and it was very full, but he found an extra hour to 2 hours of time in between, somehow or another, to read. Instead of sitting in the car complaining why everyone else is late, he would sit there for Sankirtan. Instead of sitting there waiting for the Gulabs to come, he'd be reading a book at breakfast. He found 1 or 2 hours a day to read on top of everything else. Devotees, but this is a sign of sincerity, that we really understand what is the desire of the spiritual master and execute it. That's how Krishna reciprocates. I know we're in a different day and age now, and devotees are brought up differently, and the mood of mission is different. More or less everyone's living outside as well, outside the temple more or less. And the situation is somewhat different. And it's nice, there was a minimum 16 rounds. But he was saying that when we're chanting, we're asking for service, so Prabhupada engages in service. And the thing was too that, we all heard this before, probably, but it was chanting all the time. When you were cooking, you were chanting constantly while you were cooking. Constantly. Not on beats, but singing. Or sometimes the devotee would be reading. I'll read something from the Krishna book. It's also Krishna book. Last night we gave an online class, some of you may have been there. And at the beginning, Tridas Prabhu, dear God brother, gave a little introductory reading. It was chapter 83. Chapter 83. And he read this amazing. We read the Krishna book and some book and kind of we miss most of it. We miss most of what we read. We may pick up a few things, but mostly we miss. Mostly it just goes in one ear and out the other. So anyway, here's one thing. This is Yudhishthira Maharaj. He's, let's see, are we in Dwarka? We're in Dwarka. And the Pandavas have come to see Krishna. So this is Yudhishthira Maharaj speaking to Krishna. Krishna's received him very nicely. And Krishna inquired from Yudhishthira about his welfare. The king became very happy by such a reception and addressed the Lord thus. My dear Lord Krishna, this is Yudhishthira speaking, my dear Lord Krishna, great personalities and devotees in full Krishna consciousness always think of your lotus feet and remain fully satisfied in drinking
the nectar.
the Is it on the board already?
No.
Well done. And not just in drinking. You could stop that. You could quote that and use it as a justification for your behavior, but you have to read the whole thing in context. In drinking the nectar of what? Pardon? Of transcendental bliss. Now that's, of course, could be worded differently. When we think of bliss, we think that as a result of something. And they're non-different on the transcendental platform. There's not a question of hearing about Krishna and not being blissful. They're synonymous with each other. On their level, there's a difference, isn't there? But for a pure devotee who actually drinks the nectar, there's no question of not being in bliss. So it's transcendental bliss. The nectar, it says here, great personalities and devotees in full Krishna consciousness. It doesn't say partial, it says full. They, as we mentioned earlier on, it's the constitutional nature of the living entity. It's not something they practice, it's just the nature. Another topic. The nectar, which they constantly drink, sometimes comes out of their mouths. It's you take that literally. It doesn't sound very nice. You're drinking something and it starts pouring out your mouth. Or eating something, But this is, of course, regarding the transcendental subject matter of hearing and chanting about Krishna, comes out of their mouths and is sprinkled on others as the narration of your transcendental activities. If you're eating any sort of, then you've still got your mouth full and you talk to the devotee next to you. And sometimes it comes out all over their face. You may have had that experience sometimes. Or all over their dhoti or sari or something. Over them, mess everywhere. You think yourself lucky, Prabhu, that's Mahaprasadam. Thank you. Thanks very much. It comes out of the mouth, coming from the mouth. Sometimes comes out of their mouths and is sprinkled on others as the narration of your transcendental activities. This is if one's heard sincerely, purely, hearing purely, relishing the nectar, then whatever they speak is like that. Then Prabhupada goes on, this nectar coming from the mouth of a pure devotee, or of a devotee, is so powerful that if one is fortunate enough to have the opportunity to drink it, he is immediately freed from the continuous journey of birth and death. There is another verse, I don't know where it is, but there's a beautiful verse in this regard about how one drinks through all reception. This transcendental kata, Krishna kata, and how it affects the heart. Our material existence is caused, you may be looking on your mobile already, our material existence is caused by what? What causes our material existence?
Okay.
You've probably got it on your mobile, haven't you? You reading your mobile?
Well, I'm reading the same as you.
Yeah, you got it on the mobile.
Oh,
So you just said what it said, so you're right.
I didn't read that far.
Oh, you didn't read that far. You're very good.
Oh, yeah.
Chika like yeah. You can see the future. It's caused by our forgetfulness. Now, not forgetfulness of details, but forgetfulness of your personality. Forgetting Krishna. That's the cause of our material bondage, that we're forgetting Krishna. It's not because of karma or because of something else. Ultimately, it's forgetting Krishna. But fortunately, the darkness of forgetfulness is immediately dissipated if one is privileged to hear about your glories. dissipate. Hearing about the glories of Krishna dissipates the darkness, if it's specifically as if it's heard from a pure devotee of the Lord. Therefore, my dear Lord, where is the possibility of ill fortune for one who is constantly engaged in hearing your glorious activities? There's nothing inauspicious. Whatever is happening externally is irrelevant to that. It may be, seen as auspicious or inauspicious, but if we're constantly engaged in hearing or chanting the holy name of the Lord, Satatam Kirtiyan Tomam, always engaged in chanting the glories of the Lord, then everything is perfect. Everything is perfect. So many verses in that regard describing the effects of chanting the glories of the Lord. Even Sri Acharya quotes that in his answer to Lord Vishnu, why he cursed Bali Maharaj. Actually, he made no mistake because he was engaged in chanting your holy name. And even though the externals may have been faulty, and Kali Yuga is full of faults specifically, but that was not Kali Yuga. But even if there are faults there, still everything becomes faultless, Nischidram, by chanting your glories. So, and the other one I wanted to read in relationship to that, because it's so relevant and important to every verse of the Bhagavatam. I don't know if we're going to get around to the purport. Okay, I'll read the purport, then I'll go back to that. Because they're linked to each other. I see there's a link here. I didn't realize it, but there's a link. Prabhupada writes, the whole purpose of Vedic civilization and of reading the Vedas is to attain the perfect stage of devotional service in the human form of life. As the purpose of reading is to become convinced that our real business is to serve. That's the purpose of reading. The whole purpose of reading is to attain this perfect stage of devotional service in the human form of life. According to the Vedic system, therefore, from the very beginning of life, the brahmacharya system is introduced so that from one's very childhood, from the age of 5, one can practice modifying one's human activities as to engage perfectly in devotional service. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Svapyasya Dharmasya Trayate Mahatobhaya. Exactly as mentioned here, sincere devotional service. Even a drop, a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. What is the most dangerous type of fear? What is that?
This.
The most dangerous type of fear? What is it?
Fear of dying.
Pardon?
Died.
Death. Death?
To regress in the species after death.
Yeah. Death is one thing, which is for most people, of course, they would see that as probably the most fearful thing. But on a higher level, not on a higher level, on a realistic level, it doesn't just, death is inevitable. It's inevitable. But what is the greatest loss of human life? Death, you can't avoid it. Human, dog, bird, everyone dies, trees. But the greatest loss in the human life is to lose the human life itself. To act in such a way that you don't warrant having a human life in your next birth. You fall into a lower species of life, which unfortunately is generally the case, especially in this age of Kali. So that is the greatest loss. So a little bit of service can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear, which is that. Prabhupada describes that in the Bhagavad Gita, Neha Bhikkhun Nashasti Pattivayana Vijate, in that particular verse in the 2nd chapter of the Gita. Modern civilization, not referring to the verdicts of Vedic literature, is so cruel to the members of human society that instead of teaching children to become brahmacharis, it teaches mothers to kill their children even in the womb on the plea of curbing the increase of population. This is what can we say? This is the state of affairs of the world today. Where there's almost as many abortions as are live births. Almost, not as many, but almost. It's like a lot of abortions. There's more than 50 million, I don't know what the latest figures are, some years ago. More than 50 million abortions a year. Not in France, I mean worldwide. That'll be the end of France. Be over in one generation. No, so it's incredible. And what then, of course, all other literally teaching people to use contraceptives, etc., etc. It's a literal teaching. People, even youngsters, are now educated in safe sex. You know, how to have sex without getting in trouble, so to speak. We're living in a very unfortunate situation. Lack of knowledge of the purpose of human life, lack of knowledge comes in embryo. It's not meant for sense gratification. It's meant for jivasya tattva jignas, inquiry into the nature of the absolute truth. That should be the goal of our lives. Instead, we're busy with sense gratification. The whole education system, material education system, aims at sense gratification. There is no education teaching the nature of the soul, science of the soul, in general education. It's not there. It's not there. There's no genuine culture being taught. It's all about, pretty much all about how to make money and enjoy. And as this week is the Sri Chaturdasi, this is basically the mentality of Hiranyakashipu. It's all about money and sense enjoyment and wealth, property, control, isn't it? Hiranyakashipu. It's like, Hiranya, what does Hiranya mean? Kashipu?
Soft beds.
Soft beds, I've heard that people outside of the Hare Krishna movement, some of them some of them sleep on soft beds. I've heard. They use mattresses or not? I think I've heard. You know this word mattress? Those who are brahmacharis don't know what a mattress is. You've heard the word mattress? I don't know, maybe in French it's a different word. What do you say in French?
Matelas.
Almost the same, similar root. Yeah, I mean, mostly every devotee sleeps on a mattress. That was another thing when there wasn't a single mattress in the whole temple. There's no question. There was not even one pillow, what to speak of a mattress. There wasn't even one cushion. One cushion was there for the class giver, that was it.
For the
Class giver.
One who gave the
Class.
class, the speaker, whoever the speaker
The
was.
assassin.
Well, not the assassin, but that was the Prabhupada.
Okay.
We wouldn't call it the assassin, but it's just a cushion on the floor. And, like that, nobody had their own things, Nowadays you have your own clothes, I've heard. Is that right? We didn't have our own clothes. They were all communal. Absolutely everything was communal. You just took what came along, It was all communal. Toothpaste, didn't have toothpaste, but a pot of this gritty mustard oil mixed with salt. You dipped your brush in there. Everyone dipped it simultaneously. There was dipping it in there. It's like horrendous. I mean, you can't imagine nowadays such a thing.
is oil and what?
Mustard oil and salt.
Salt. That was the toothpaste.
That was a toothpaste, yeah. And if you're lucky, there was some ground up cloves mixed in it.
Okay.
It tasted absolutely awful. Yeah. It cleaned the teeth. I don't know what else it did, but anyway. I don't want to get into too many details, but it was a different world that we live in. It's brahmachari life. We're talking about brahmachari, trained as brahmacharis. There's not much training nowadays. I mean, there's theoretical training. So much theoretical training, mental things. We just got on with it, Brahmachari life meant austerity. What it meant. Just got on with it. Now, I know that some of you now are going to become fanatics. Throw these mattresses out. Get rid of all this nonsense. close your bank accounts.
Nah.
We didn't have money, what to speak of bank account. There's no question of money. Brahmachari and money, immediately you were invited into the president's office and told who you were marrying tomorrow. Okay. Tomorrow you're marrying so-and-so Dasi. You never knew they were, because no Brahmachari knew the name of any of the ladies. You never knew any of their names. Next day, Yagya, first time. Oh my God, what happened? It was too late, boy, you should have learned your lesson. And if by chance a child is saved, he is educated only for sense gratification. Gradually, throughout the entire world, human society is losing interest in the perfection of life. Indeed, men are living like cats and dogs, spoiling the duration of their human life by actually preparing to transmigrate again to the degraded species among the 8,400,000 species of life, or forms of life. The Krishna conscious movement is anxious to serve human society by teaching people to perform devotional service, which can save a human being from being degraded again to animal life. So the basic root of modern education is there is nothing, there is no future life. This life is the only life, finished. Basic premise of modern education. Practically you can say it's everything developed from that understanding. Otherwise they'd be a little bit more concerned about what we're doing in this life. As stated already by Prahlad Maharaj, Bhagavata Dharma consists of Shravnam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Ashram, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. In all the schools, colleges and universities and at home, all children and youth should be taught to hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, they should be taught to hear the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, to put them into practice in their lives, and thus to become strong in devotional service, free from fear of being degraded to animal life. Following Bhagavad Dharma has been made extremely easy in this age of Kali, and I'm sure none of you know the answer to this one. How has it been made easy? How has it been made easy? Can anyone read? It might be up there.
Yeah.
How is it made easy? Shalom, Nastyeva. Yeah, very good. Very good.
Nah.
One need only chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Everyone engaged in the practice of chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra will be completely cleansed to the core of his heart and be saved from the cycle of birth and death. That's teaching Prahlad Maharaj gave the schoolmates. Well, it may not have been the Hare Krishna mantra, but to chant the holy name of God. Chant the names of the Lord. And you see the picture, there's a famous picture, isn't it? I don't know if it's in this one, but there's a famous picture somewhere. I put it on the presentation yesterday, actually, partially. I couldn't get the whole one, didn't have time. But this famous picture here of Prahlad, there he is. Prahlad Maharaj at school. There they are.
He's going
Studying very
for book
intently.
distribution.
Huh?
He's going for book distribution.
Book distribution, yeah.
No?
I don't know about that. They're Harinam, they're doing kirtan.
Nah.
And they weren't supposed to be. They're supposed to be studying. You can study the Vedas also for material reasons, isn't it? You can study the Bhagavad Gita for ulterior reasons, to use it for your own power. You can do a Bhakti Shastri degree for ulterior reasons. You can do a Bhakti Vedanta degree for ulterior reasons. You want to be, now I've got the degree, listen to me. I'm a Bhakti Vaibhav. You're only a Bhakti Shastri. Sit down there on the floor and listen to me. That mentality might be within us. Probably won't say that, that's a bit too obvious, but that type of pride may be within us. We think there was something special now. I've got my degree. that's not the character quality. The quality of sincerity is essential, without ulterior motive. Simply in the mood of service. I want to read something when finished there from the 4th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam. After Tridas Prabhu had mentioned that beautiful section from the Krishna book, it reminded me of the statements here in the 4th canto. I'm not sure who's speaking to who here. King Prithu, I think. I think it's King Prithu, I may be wrong, but I think it's King Prithu speaking to Lord Vishnu. After the sacrifice, although Prithu is an expansion of Vishnu, nonetheless he's acting a particular role and he's performing a great yajna sacrifice going on. And he says, my text number 24 of the 20th chapter of the 4th canto. My dear Lord, I therefore do not wish to have the benediction. And we find one of the key features of the pastime of Lord Nrsingadev and Prahlad Maharaj are the prayers of Prahlad. In 1976 and 1977 in Mayapur, both years, Prabhupada lectured on these prayers. Both years. And because he was been translating, but he again lectured on them in 77. That's very important. In the transformation of a devotee's attitude to become sincere. So one of those prayers, or let's say, coming on to the prayers, prior to the prayers in a sense, he said, the Lord asked Prahlad Maharaj for, did he want anyone, it's actually after the prayers, I believe, he wanted him to ask for a benediction. A benediction. And Prahlad Maharaj, same thing is mentioned here by Prithu Maharaj. Yeah, I'm not serving you for any reward. I don't have any desire to receive anything in return. The opportunity to serve you and serve your devotees is itself the greatest reward. I don't need anything. But the Lord is insistent. So he said, oh my Lord, okay, please, he prayed that my father would be delivered. And this is one of the most important features of the whole pastime, in a sense, is the mood of the Lord and the mood of Prahlad. There's Hiranyakashipu was a demon and tried again and again to kill his son, to kill his spiritual practice, and then to literally kill him, because he couldn't do that. So in this way, Lord Nrsingadev eventually came with love for his devotees. And Prahlad Maharaj, even though he'd gone through this experience, it's a traumatic experience. If you were a 5-year-old child and you went through that traumatic experience, how would you feel? You certainly wouldn't say thank you. Yeah? Later on in life, these things sometimes happen. Parents abuse the children. And then later on, the child becomes traumatized. And maybe it comes back again, and then there's a whole issue develops. Maybe parents get locked up, all kinds of things may happen. And the child remains forever, feeling, I'm a victim, and these people have caused me all. But Prahlad Maharaj did not respond like that, did he? He was always thinking compassionately about his father's will. Prahlad, Haridas, that same mood, Haridas, Prahlad, same Shakti, same mood. Same thing. They're trying to beat him to death, and he's praying, please deliver them. Please deliver them. We may not be on that level, of course. This is the mood of the pure devotee. It's one big lesson of forgiveness. It's not even forgiveness from the pure devotee's point of view, because they don't see anything as, an offense in the first place. See, they deserve, this is Krishna's mercy. They see it's Krishna's mercy. But at least in the practicing stage, this forgiveness is the mood of a Vaishnava. It's the first characteristic of a Brahmana, is the quality of forgiveness. If we can't forgive, then, we aren't really at that level of even a Brahmin, what to speak of a Vaishnava. My dear Lord, I therefore do not wish to have the benediction of merging into your existence, a benediction in which there is no existence of the nectarian beverage of your lotus feet. I want the benediction of at least 1,000,000 years. You want 1,000,000 years? You become famous. You'll be in the Guinness Book of Records. 1,000,000, you can't conceive of 1,000,000 years. It means more, subtly, much more than that. For thus I may be able to hear about the glories of your lotus feet from the mouths of your pure devotees. I'm not going to read the purport to that verse, I go on to the next verse. That's the prelude of the next verse. But the desires of the devotee, eager desire to hear the transcendental sound vibrations from the lips of the pure devotees of the Lord, as we heard earlier on, how they are the remedy for curing us of this material disease, this forgetfulness of Krishna, and the consequent results of that are becoming entangled in this material world and attached and completely absorbed in sense gratification. The next verse, which is really an amazing verse. My dear Lord, you are glorified by the selected verses uttered by great personalities. Such glorification of your lotus feet is just like saffron particles. When the transcendental vibration from the mouths of great devotees carries the aroma of the saffron dust of your lotus feet, the forgetful living entity gradually remembers its eternal relationship with you. It awakens or reminds us of our relationship. Devotees thus gradually come to the right conclusion about the value of life. My dear Lord, I therefore do not need any other benediction, but the opportunity to hear from the mouth of your pure devotee. This is the only desire for the Parikshit Maharaj. All the great devotees, they all say the same thing. I may be hearing your glories. That's my only desire, especially at the time of death. To be able to hear the glories of the Lord on the lips of a pure devotee. I'll not read the whole purpose. Someone, believe it or not, when I looked for this verse, I opened the book and I opened it up and it came on these verses practically almost straight away. I saw somebody else taken the book and they put all these marks there on. It's pretty much what I wanted to read anyway, so I don't think it was me. Maybe I did this. I don't know. Somebody's done it. It's a bit like my style. I'll just read this section here. A pure devotee always engages in the service of the Lord, taking shelter of his lotus feet, and therefore he has a direct connection with the saffron mercy particles that are strewn over the lotus feet of the Lord. This word strewn is not a very often used word. You probably don't know what it means. Does anyone know what strewn? I know what it means. Does anyone else know what strewn means?
Like
Strewn.
dispersed upon?
Yeah, dispersed or scattered upon, spread out upon, dispersed, scattered, like that. They're all over, randomly almost. They're just there. Although when a pure devotee speaks, and this is a really amazing purport line, although when a pure devotee speaks, the articulation, you know this word, articulation? Is it the same in French?
Yeah.
What does it mean in French?
Articulation. What's the meaning?
Yeah.
When you pronounce properly?
Yeah, when it's very clear, very clearly pronounced, and grammatically clearly pronounced. articulation, especially the pronunciation. Very clear. Hear very clearly. Very nicely articulated. But Baba says here, the voice, even if the articulation of his voice may resemble the sound of this material sky, so our articulation is materially relative. Some may say very good, not so good, is relative. Different people would describe it differently. But this is not the articulation of a pure devotee. He may, for the sake of the audience, also seem to be very articulate in his speaking, if it helps the audience to digest the subject. But that's not the essence. That's not the essence. The essence, the voice, even if it isn't properly articulated, the voice is spiritually very powerful because it touches the particles of saffron dust on the lotus feet of the Lord. In other words, the words are coming from Krishna. They are not born of speculation. They're not born of a conditioned soul's particular nature or conditioning, or just what we picked up, or what we want to achieve materially. The words are coming from Krishna. They're not, the spiritual masters are transparent via media for, the will of Krishna to manifest in this world. As soon as a sleeping living entity hears the powerful voice emanating from the mouth of a pure devotee, he immediately remembers his eternal relationship with the Lord, although up until that moment he had forgotten everything. It makes such a difference, doesn't it, when we hear the same subject matter. I mean, you listen to Srila Prabhupada, most of his lectures are very, very simple. Have you ever noticed that? Philosophically very simple. There's not many Vasic statements, occasionally, but not much. It's very simple. ABCs, sometimes people will say. But the effect is very powerful. Even if you've been in 55 years chanting, hearing, whatever you call it, to hear that voice, that sound, has such a powerful effect. Even in a, I don't know, different personalities see it differently. And I guess the Lord reciprocates to how we reciprocate with Him. But even you hear on a lecture tape, Srila Prabhupada speaking, it's so powerful. So powerful. He's not controlled by electronics. He's speaking through the electronics, but he's not controlled by it. It's not. I don't believe it's reduced. I mean, it's reduced by our unwillingness to hear or our own idea of how things are, maybe. But Prabhupada is there, and it's powerful. Just like he said, if you want to know me, I'm in my books. Read my books. Prabhupada. This is Prabhupada's association. We're just trying to read what's said here. This is how we associate with the pure devotee, by hearing from him. And that purifies our vision, purifies our concepts and our perception. As Prabhupada says here, it reminds us of our eternal relationship with the Lord. In the material world, we have the same experience. When you associate with someone, it reminds you of something or another material. But of course, we've been so long, there's another verse, I think, Kilokapila Day, with Canto. We've been so long conditioned that we almost have a default to, go to the material object. So there's one verse there which describes how meditation on the lotus feet of the Lord, which is talked about here, acts just like the thunderbolt of Lord Indra. The thunderbolt of Lord Indra smashes mountains to dust. And then he goes on to say, just in the same way, our heart, that's Nandi, you've been just doing too many Arabic books. He's meditating on meditation, deep meditation going on over there, I can see that. Deep, deep meditation. So deep you don't know what's going on over there. It says that the heart is just like a mountain of sin. Mountain of sin. But meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord smashes that mountain to dust. Smashes it to pieces. Destroys it entirely. Therefore, Prabhupada says, this is specifically for yogis. With us, that meditation means constant devotional service. Therefore, one should meditate constantly for a long time on the lotus feet of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada says the lotus feet of the Lord have appeared in this world in the form of Namsankirtan. We chant constantly, when as much as we can, chanting of the holy name of Krishna. Hare Krishna. I'll just finish one more line. For a conditioned soul, therefore, it is very important to hear from the mouth of a pure devotee who is fully surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord without any material desire, speculative knowledge, or contamination of the modes of material nature. So linking all those points together, hearing from his voice, hearing from Prahlad Maharaj, we hear from Srila Prabhupada, the same principle. We're also sinful kids, most of us. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Okay, Haribol. Breakfast time. Last day of the marathon, there's some sponsorships. I mentioned too. I didn't mention to everyone we have a little sponsorship. Be generous for the books today if you wish. Don't forget, please say a prayer for our dear Agnidev Prabhu. I have another godbrother, senior brother, he's a sannyasi, although he's not actively in ISKCON at the moment. He's also, any moment, can pass away. You don't know.
What's his name?
Balaba Puri Maharaj.
Bhagavat.
Balaba. He's not in state. He's sannyas. That's kind of outside of ISKCON. Pretty proper disciple. Not exactly outside of ISKCON, but anyway, it's a long story. But he's very dear devotee, very dear to me. The reality of life, isn't it? Preparing for the reality. Fear, which you mentioned, death. The cert of death. Could come at any moment. The other day, a few days ago, Ravinda Swarup Prabhu, you all know Ravinda Swarup Prabhu, his wife left the world. Chodamani Mataji. She left the world a few days ago. She wasn't, well, she was sick, but she wasn't. It happened real quick, almost. A day or two, gone. Don't take it for granted. Don't think, oh, it's not going to happen to me. I'm all right. I'm young. I'm healthy. I don't feel like I'm going to die. Right? I'm good. Anyway, the doctors, they're the best medical system, they'll save me. They can save me. Nothing they can do if the time comes. Could be any time. You can't say it's only going to come when you're 80 years old or more. Come at any moment, isn't it? Be prepared. Be prepared. Don't waste this human form of life. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.